July the 14th, 1861, Washington, D.C. Dear Sarah, the indications are very strong that we shall move in a few days, perhaps tomorrow. And lest I should not be able to write you again, I feel impelled to write a few lines that may fall under your eye when I am no more. I have no misgivings about or lack of confidence in the cause in which I am engaged, and my courage does not halt or falter.
With the development of science and technology, people are more likely to use social media to contact others. There is no denying that it is much more convenient for us to stay in touch with others compared to the past when letters played an important role in people's communication. Nevertheless, there are still many people that keep the habit of writing letters. August 10th, 2017. After a month of preparation, I embark on the journey with joy and sadness, which is difficult to describe in words. It is the first time that I've been far away from home. I am so excited because of the freedom, but my heart is hanging in the air, nowhere to put it.
Certainly not as often as I once did. I would say that I write letters probably 2 or 3 times a month. And I think that's just the nature of corresponding nowadays. There are fewer and fewer people that I have, fewer and fewer friends who are also in the habit of writing letters. So for most people, it's email, phone calls, some text, and for very few special people who also enjoy the depth that a handwritten letter can provide. So a couple times a month. So it's basically old college friends, even friends from high school and childhood, where we began the relationship exchanging letters, and that has just continued to be our preferred way.
There's an old saying in China, letters from home are precious. Letters are a core part of a culture. Thousands of years ago, in ancient times of China, people set an inn station, and there were specialized people who rode to deliver letters. In case of emergency, people who sent letters would insert a feather as a signal. People in ancient times even used kites to convey information. Traditional ways to send a letter were different varying from countries. Some Western countries still had their unique ways to communicate with others. They drew a skull and crossbones on urgent mail. In 1870, during the Franco-Prussian War, the Prussian army surrounded Paris. Ground communication could not be done at all. At that time, the French authorities used more than 80 balloons sending letters more than 70 tons to let people outside know that Paris was trapped. It had also become the earliest form of airmail.
So what I say is I'm not enough of a Luddite to say let's get rid of social media, let's get rid of digital technology and all go back to writing letters. Just like it's fine to eat fast food every once in a while, it's fine to not go out and to a fine dinner. Every once in a while, people should have the experience of a really fine meal. And I would say that there's something very similar between the fast food of sending a text and enjoying a meal, analogous to writing that letter. I grew up in a family with my parents and my grandparents where letter writing was just a natural thing to do. And I remember being even a very small child and walking out with my grandmother to the mailbox in our front yard, and how excited she would be when she would see all these different letters from different relatives or friends. And then she would spend days catching up, reading, putting it down, rereading. There was something really magical about that social media just simply cannot replicate. Obviously, romantic interests, who you're in love with, who your friends are in love with, all of that can be expressed in ways through a letter that simply can't through other forms of communication. I mean, the great novels, the great romance novels, they're all people who've spent time writing it down, thinking about it and writing it and learning to express it in really beautiful ways, using the full breadth of the language. And it is a beautiful language. Use that. And really, the social media just doesn't provide us that opportunity to do that.
October 27, 2017. Rainy. Dear Mother and Father, October. Edwardsville is always under drizzle. It reminds me of the long miss I have for you. The drizzle makes the weather colder and colder. And in this cold, nostalgia becomes much more bitter. How have your days been lately? At Xiamen, you must still feel the warmth in the air until November passes over.
Convenient, fast, interesting. If you want, they can give you so many reasons why they choose social media, but not writing letters. In our fast-paced society, writing letters may be a last choice for some younger people. Social media is taking place of some traditional media for the younger generation.
No, I'm not interested in writing letters. And I never had any situations for me to write. I'm not sure. I've never thought about it. I mean, maybe some kind of personal matters. There are disadvantages, yes. It's more like it takes way too much time or about 2 to 3 business days to get to the other end.
No. In fact, I don't think I've ever written a letter my entire life. I don't know, I guess I've just never found myself in a situation where writing a letter would be necessary. I feel like today I'm more of a I want the answer now kind of person, and so texting gives...
In a twinkling of an eye, 2 months have passed. The biggest difference between life here and life at home is the overwhelming sense of peace. Away from the bustle and noisiness of the city. A flower, a grass, a tree, a human, all seem to live in harmony here. And my life is gradually becoming more formal. After 2 months of adaptation, my daily routine is a library and dorm. Although 2 points first like, a little mediocre, but not tedious. Occasionally hanging out with friends makes the day more interesting. In a way, busy has become the word that describes my life. So now, whenever I get the chance to sit down, to write to you, to express my miss for you, I feel a very tranquil sense of mood. Even though the mist stretches across the Pacific Ocean, it feels like writing to you feels like I'm nestled in mother's embrace, and the warm and dependent made you disgruntled.
Nowadays, letters are a kind of symbol of culture. They are not only a method to deliver information, but also a way for people to relax themselves. Letters always carry people's emotions, which is everlasting. Letters can make sure that when we reread them, we can sense the feelings, emotions, and philosophy.
2006.
Dear President Eisenhower.
Dear Lawrence.
To all those at MTV, I have friends who think I'm foolish to write this letter.
I ain't got no time for fast train.
I received your letter.
Everyone is for peace and friendship.
Full of conflicting ideas and emotions.
The gilder of every pleasure.
Grow up as good revolutionaries.
For tomorrow is another day.
I love you.
You can certainly say things in much greater depth, I believe, in a letter. And it may be my imagination that you can, But I think that when you take the time out to handwrite a letter, you actually are thinking before you put pen to paper. It's so easy on modern word processors or by sending texts to make all kinds of mistakes or say things that maybe do not really hold the meaning that you want to convey. But in a letter, and most of mine are handwritten, but back in the day, I'd type them occasionally. Before you actually do that, because it's so much trouble to correct, you really give it some thought. And I think that writing in general has gotten sloppier, and I think that's certainly the case with correspondence. I think that I write letters still because thoughts and emotions that I have and I want to share, I can do so more successfully that way.
When was the last time you wrote a letter? What were your feelings when you wrote the letter? What were the feelings when you received a letter? Most people will feel happy and excited when they receive a letter from their friends, family members, or significant others.
Yeah, I guess. When I read a letter that's been written to me or read anything, I read it with emotion. When I'm reading a text, I don't find myself really doing that. I feel more emotion when I'm reading a letter than I do when I'm reading a text. So yeah.
2 months ago, I found it hard to express the joy and sadness that came with this journey. It was the first time that I was away from home so far. After leaving my family at the airport, my spirits felt like a kite with a broken line. I was delighted with the rare freedom, while at the same time feeling confused and imitated. A broken line kite, at the moment, did not go to the direction to here. Without an umbrella, I walked down the road and boarded the plane, having lunch and drinking water, with my heart hanging in the air and nowhere to find its home. At that time, I cowardly dropped my tears, probably because the realization of my dream that I have been burying in my heart since high school was finally coming true, and probably because the gratitude I had for my parents paid for my dreams. Standing on the timeline, I can see myself 2 months ago, and I think I could give myself and my family a reasonable explanation. Now I can schedule my time well, and I am also junior chef too. What is more, I can fight 300 rounds with various insects, and I can also live together peacefully with them. Putting everything in a nutshell, I have learned how to face difficulties and how to deal with problems. The clock is ticking, and I think I will be better. The mist is further than the distance. Well, and do not worry. October 27, 2017. Faye.